guys, it's finally here. The CXOJ, Chloe, XO, Josh, and this is our YouTube channel. Welcome, guys.
Welcome. Have a seat and welcome to our lovely abode.
Absolutely. Love it here at the loft here. So we have a very important topic to discuss. So first of all, rest in power, Brother Kevin Samuels. We appreciate you while you were here, right?
Yes, sir.
Sir. I saw this clip because, I was on YouTube at work while doing work, obviously, in the background. And I was like, oh, this is something that we can talk about because we've always wanted to react to things, but never actually did it. So now we're actually doing it, which is fantastic. So, Chloe.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to courting, what does it mean to you, being a woman and identifying with being a woman?
What age range are we talking?
Let's say 18 up.
Okay, so courting, I would say it's kind of like a test run. It's to see if your values are aligned, what your goals are, what's your master plan, and if you can mesh with the other person, like if you guys are actually like aligned to be creative expanders in this world. Like, are you guys ready for a potential to expand and create together? I look at that as courting on a deeper level, right? If we're thinking about courting for the purposes of marriage and building legacy. If we're talking about courting in the other sense, I guess the more modern sense of courting, dating, I guess you can call it, wouldn't be called courting. You mean
hanging and banging?
Hanging and, slinging. I think that is more about, I guess you can say there's a byline of like what your individual goals are in being in a courtship or being in a dating sphere, I would say. So, people have different goals. Some people just have a goal of having fun for the night. Some people just have a goal of, having a friend and a companion to chill with when they are on downtime. Some people want a distraction from, things going on in their life. So it does depend on your individual goals. And if those align with the other person's individual goals that you're entering in this partnership with, then usually it's copacetic and doesn't end badly. But if you guys are now on the same page and one person that, has a set of goals and the other person's set of goals are just completely opposite and don't align, that usually ends up in the toxic category, I would say.
That's true, but unfortunately, toxic is fun now. It's all the rage. It's what all the kids are doing. And back in the days, there were times where I feel like people really enjoyed being toxic because I guess our generation has the mindset that we're not going to do this with our significant other. Might as well do it now. Unfortunately, if you get hooked on the drama, then that becomes your lifestyle. And then that becomes your reputation because that's who you are, unfortunately.
And to add to or build on what you're saying, a lot of people did grow up in toxic situations. I actually shared a video in our group chat today, and it's about a woman who was very candid, and she was talking about how her relationship with her husband, she thought he didn't love her because when she grew up, she was used to like love being slamming doors and screaming and all this passion and telenovela stuff, or love and hip hop stuff. And her husband was just very secure, safe, and stable, and she didn't respect that. Like, she felt like he didn't love her because she was so used to the toxic. So that's like a whole nother deeper level to that toxicity, in addition to it being cool, right? Everything, all the media is like, oh yeah, be toxic. Go, if he cheats on you, go, throw some bleach on his Jordans, like scratch up his car, call up your girlfriend.
What did the Jordans or the car do to her? Nothing.
It's the sentimental value that it holds to him, right? So she trying to get her get back. As per these, messages that they're trying to get people to be involved in, and not thinking of the repercussions. Like, girl, you gonna go to jail. Like, who wants to be in jail? He gonna get his money back, or you gonna be in jail with a whole bunch of females? Like, I don't get it.
Petty gang.
But you know, most people don't get locked up when they do that stuff, allegedly. So I guess that's just, you know, reinforces the culture of stab and grab.
Wow.
Stab the tires and run.
The only thing I can say to that is,
you people are so petty and tiny.
You mortals, really? I mean, come on. That's not going to do anything because they're material things, they're replaceable.
Yes, and the thing about it is the toxic, right? So people grow up in this toxic stuff. And it's sad to say, but men like that toxic stuff too. Like the girl who went and slashed the man's tires, he's crawling, you know, begging her back. Because usually toxic stuff comes with a whole another, you know, can of worms or baggage.
Or let's say Pandora's box.
Pandora's box. Yeah. Can of worms, Pandora's box, the box, whatever you want to say.
Okay, Roddy Rich.
And, you know, it gets a little complicated when you about that drama and about that life. And a lot of times, younger people in the dating sphere, we'll call it, they just see that stuff on TV and they see it in real life. And they see the results that their friends are getting from being toxic. And it looks positive from the outside looking in. So they just, you know, kind of continue.
I would say in the modern era, in the IG era, the basis of toxicity will be one of the things to give you clout and create clout, right? It's like, what are you willing to do to become famous? So if you add that element into your lifestyle, then of course you're going to be seeking the most toxic and drama possible.
Yeah. It's, you know, they like the adrenaline rush. I feel like when you're young, you just like living life on the edge. A lot of people, they just like, I'm not living unless I'm living, like unless I'm close to death. And I feel like the older we get, you're supposed to grow out of that. Like fear of, not the absence of fear of death or consequences. And it appears to be a lot of people never leave that stage. And then they just raise children to be in that stage forever. So it's like a continuous cycle of trauma and toxicity and reinforced trauma and toxicity.
That's inherited. Because let's not forget, if we look at some scientific evidence each day, you get to see how much data is actually stored within our DNA. Is significantly more than you may conceptually believe right now. So things like, you know, bad habits. So not only are they more prone to have that because of the DNA and that habit or having that, let's say, addictive personality, we see that passed down in generations, unfortunately, right? But at the same time, I feel that you can always turn a negative into positive consciously, right? So imagine you do have that addictive personality that runs in your family and it runs in a lot of our families, if we're being honest, right? If you're able to turn that into like, you know, you become addicted to hard work, you can make that an immense positive and add value to their life if you know that that's a possibility, right? And then if you teach them let's say a balance and moderation and effective coping mechanism as they're socially, emotionally growing,
yes,
right? Then you have a lot better possibility for the wonderful values that you're, you know, instilling in your children to allow they can grow on themselves by having them apply it in real life, which I think is the goal, right? So like when you raising kids, that's essentially, you know, teaching them how to drive. Mm-hmm. So they got to learn the rules of the road, why it is that way, why that person has the right of way when you have the right of way, right? Because sometimes we can read a situation incorrectly, right? And thus be in a delusional reality, which can be incredibly dangerous under certain circumstances. So identifying those moments in real time, I think, is incredibly key.
And experience just trumps all, I feel like. So it's like, yeah, you can tell people blah, 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 like, yo, do this. I did it like this, and this is what you should look out for, and this is what you shouldn't look out for. And there's always exceptions to the rule. We always have to remember that. Like, it's never 100%. You're always going to find a success story, no matter what the case. And you're always going to find a failure story, no matter what the case. Even if they had a road paved out for them in the rule book, somebody's going to fail. And if they didn't have the rule book and they didn't have it paved out, someone's going to succeed. So yeah, it's a game of chances, right? But I've to piggyback on what you were saying, like the more prepared you are, the better your chances. So the more tools you have in your toolbox, or let's not say toolbox, the I don't know what's another
in your arsenal.
I don't know, something more feminine than a toolbox. The reason why we're saying this is because we firmly believe that the more experience that you have, and it doesn't have to be your own experience, but the more knowledge that you have about a particular subject, you can broach that subject better. It's always better to have more information before you make a decision, because then you're able to make the decision that has the better outcome.
An informed decision.
Informed decision.
This newfound belief concept.
Yeah. So, we learn from each other and we learn from the world. And the whole point of having these conversations is just to share people's experiences and how they did it. So maybe you can take what you need to take and leave what you need to leave. It's like grocery shopping, right? You go to the grocery store. Sometimes you go to the grocery store, you get exactly what you need from the grocery store. Like you got a list, everything's ready, you're not forgetting anything. And the other times, like what often I do is I go to the grocery store hungry, or Target, right? And you end up buying everything on the list. Everything that you want to get. And then you get in a car and you're driving home. You're like, oh, snap. I drove all the way to Target and I didn't even get what I came for. But it's, it just depends on where you are to receive the information, right? If you're in hunger mode, you're there just to get some food or whatever to satisfy that craving. But if you're in a space to learn or a space to shop productively, you're going to do that. So no one's here to force information down your throat. We're just here to share our experience, which changes. I think that I've never been a person to say, and I'm very firm in my beliefs of things. I think I'm like, because I do a lot of research and I'm like, oh, I know this. And I could really feel that 100,000%. But then I'll have a new experience and I'm like, oh, that's the perspective I didn't consider when I was 100% in that thought mindset. So now I've evolved, right? We're not here to stay the same we were last year or yesterday even. If you're presented with new information, you use that and you can change your mindset. It's a growth mindset here.
It's very wise, Clo. So with that in mind, when we review or respond, let's say, to this Kevin Samuels clip, what did you have in mind when viewing it?
So I think with the perspective of our relationship and where we're headed together, I viewed this, and it was one of the things that we both were talking about, is how we viewed it from a lens of a person about to raise a child.
Very wise, yep.
Not that we're expecting, but that's just where our mindset is at this moment.
Okay, so I'm gonna roll the clip.
Here we go.
So, here's some things that guys need to watch out for when they're dating, regardless of the size of your pocketbook or your dreams or aspirations. Ignore these things at your peril, because just like all the great men of antiquity, the Bible, and in the past, a woman can need the help, but oftentimes the wrong woman can throw a man completely into chaos. Start off with this one. She wants to be courted. Yep, she wants to be courted. Now I know there's some guys are probably thinking, hey Kevin, you kind of talk like a traditional man. What's wrong with her wanting to be courted? Nothing if she's truly a traditional woman. But typically women want to be courted because they want all the benefits of traditional femininity and gender roles, but they ain't bringing none of that stuff to the table. This is just another way of asking you to simp. Very few westernized women deserve to be courted. I say it again, very few westernized women deserve to be courted. You guys fought for equality. You're my equal. You wanted equal pay. You wanted equal rights, well, you need to get equal lefts. You wanted to be courted. That ain't gonna happen. We are equals. Deal with it. Thank feminism one-on-one, your mamas and your grandmamas. This is the world. Ladies, if you're watching, understand this is what men are on the lookout for. So if you're asking some guy to court you, what are you bringing to the table other than sex and debt?
So I just want to give a preface to this review. We are specifically talking about women in this review, right? What men should look out when they're dating women currently. This is not about women per se. This advice that Kevin's giving is not for women. It's for men. So let's just keep that in the back of our minds as we keep an open mind about this information.
That's very interesting, considering Kevin also prefaced his words as well, saying just that.
I mean, some people hear it with their emotions. Some people don't hear it with their emotions.
That is completely accurate.
So it's good to, as an educator, a person who's speaking to the audience, you should definitely say things more than once, in my opinion, in different ways, because it's not going to resonate. The words are not going to resonate the same with each person. So it's good to kind of say the same thing different ways. So yeah, I'm just re-saying this is advice for our future son if we are blessed with one, and what we would tell our son and what we might not tell our son based on our review of these tips on dating.
Absolutely. So since we're talking about courting as the first thing that, Kevin talked about, the first red flag that she wants to be courted, right? I feel like a great skill to teach our son and perhaps your son, right, your future son, is to how to accurately and properly, with consistency, identify women who are worthy of courtship. Because, as Kevin alluded to, not all women are eligible for courtship. And that's just the reality. And unfortunately, there are a lot of, let's say, delusional realities promoted in the media. And unfortunately, you are what you consume. So if you consistently consume this delusional reality, it then becomes your reality. And then you're living in a parallel universe thinking where something's one way when it's actually another. So to prevent that from happening, I think the best way is to identify the actual truth, right? So these are the women who you should avoid. If you're looking for, let's say, something long-term, these are the type of women that you want to be, not interested in, but keeping an eye out for or observing and be like, oh, okay, that's what that looks like in real life type of thing. And then you're able to make a more informed decision because, as Clo alluded to, sometimes when courting, it could be for long-term or short-term. That depends on the mindset you are at that moment, right? And your preferences. And, even though we're not talking about women specifically, the advice, if we have our, future daughter as well, would be how do you elicit courtship from a man that you actually desire and you prefer, and you also maintain that value in the dating marketplace, because that is key to the type of man you will attract. And that's the reality.
Yes. So, dear Kevin, rest in peace. A lot of women did not mess with Kevin Samuels. I kind of can get it. Like, I can get it because he's, he emotionally draws people into these polarized positions based on the word of the day. Typical Pisces stuff. Just saying. But, I mean, specifically for this list, tongue in cheek, he's spitting facts. I'm going to just say he's spitting facts. And if we want to be real and we want to be objective, if you just look around, and I think before we even get into this, we need to discuss what is courting, because our definition from our generation is completely different of courting from 2022. I could say. I mean, things that I've heard.
Well, I would say that's because people don't understand courtship or are not concerned. So I think not the Victorian definition, right? But perhaps, let's say the 1900s, even though that was just like the last millennia, which is crazy. But
we were born in the
1900s, right? Yeah, we're definitely millennials. In the old 1900s.
1900s.
Way back in the day. Let's say between the 1950s, let's say post World War II. So let's say the baby boomer generation, and let's say their parents, and and let's say that's zero, and you can go back further or perhaps a little further, because things typically changed in the 70s. Well, let's say the 60s and the 70s, because you had all these modern, radical ideas about, the sexual liberation, things like, feminism, things like civil rights. So a lot of these new concepts were changing the way people courted themselves. So I think that's important to, go back in history and observe what happened, and then see how certain decisions and certain things led to the outcome and the reality that we have presently, and how that history could also repeat itself. Because, history ebbs and flows, just like the music industry. Something that's popular 20 years ago might be popular now. So it's time is cyclical, in my opinion, just from my experience. Things, have an ebb and flow like a wave. So you'll have up and down, just like the stock market type of thing.
So in addition to what you're saying, to bring it back to, the 99s to 2000s, let's talk about women's rights and equality and how that's affected courtship. Ooh. From my specific, so I would say we're the last generation we're kind of like in the middle. It's like half of us are super traditional and we have those traditional expectations. Like
I respectfully would not say half at this point.
Okay, maybe I'm saying from our generation, like most women that I grew up with, we're not pulling out our credit card to pay for nobody's date. Like we will be sitting at the table staring at each other. Like it's just you just don't. If a man asks you out on a date, you just don't reach for your wallet. Just don't. It's just impolite. Because if a man's asking you on a date, clearly he wants to take you out. So why would you reach for your wallet? But then there's this like new age, you're hip if you reach for your wallet and ask to pay for half or pay for dinner. I could never. It's like mind blown. Like, where is this going? And this whole woman's equal to a man, so she should be paying for the date. It's so weird to me. Like, I'm not about that life. Like, I'm just not. I just feel like it emasculates the man who's asking you. And it's weird because the women at the same time, you want to put out your card and pay, but you want him to lead. It's just very confusing. And I think that the people after us are even more confused than we are because they're told so many different messages about dating. Like, for instance, we went out with my cousins over the weekend, went to a vineyard. Shout out to Darren for hosting and Annie Vaughn. Y'all are lit. We went to Old York Cellar and we did like a family VIP access type of wine tasting event. It was so bougie and so bad, but in a good way. But long story short, we were talking about dating and one of my younger cousins was there who will remain nameless. And he was talking about how some woman he just met told him, just started dating. They never even like went out on a date. They're just talking. Sends him a link of a bag that costs $10,000. And it's like, oh, I want this for X holiday or Christmas or whatever. Like, what in the world? What are these expectations?
Well, it's set from dating apps because even when they started in, let's say, all the way back in Plenty of Fish or OK Cupid, right? Way back then, you still had, let's say, ladies soliciting certain items because perhaps they looked a certain way, and if you're a guy who doesn't get any birds, right? But you got bread. Is that a fair exchange for you? Is that a transactional exchange that you'd be willing to do to get some experience?
So I agree, but it's just it's okay. So there's always been women like that.
Sure.
But the approach is just so different now. Like a woman who was about that life, a gold digger, they're not going to be coming out of their mouth and be like, oh yeah, you better buy me this $10,000 bag. It's not like that. It was suggested. It would be like, oh, it's expected because it's an unspoken agreement. And, usually men who solicit those type of women, they know it's an unspoken agreement. And I feel like now in this dating sphere, there is no unspoken agreement because everyone's so confused. It's like with friends with benefits situation or like guy friends and girlfriends and, platonic friendships or friends with benefits. There's like all these different labels for things, but there's no clear definition of what things are. So it could be like, what's courting or what's dating. If a girl sleeps with a man and he never calls her back, she might be thinking they're dating. And they never even went out on a date.
It's true.
So it's like so confusing. And I feel like when we were growing up, there was a byline. Like if a man takes you to dinner, he's expecting you to sleep with him. It's just, if a man takes you on a trip, he's expecting you to sleep with him.
I would say the trip more.
Maybe
than
the
dinner.
trip.
Yeah.
But dinner, he wants to. He's like, this is his first step in trying to sleep with you. But,
or seeing if you're worth,
or seeing if you're worth a relationship.
Or any time, energy, attention, or resources at all. But
it's like, we had those rules. We had those understandings. And I feel like the people now who are actively dating and in this,
the whippersnappers,
the young whippersnappers, they confused. And it's like, we're confused. So we can't even give them the correct data to navigate specifically.
I mean, we can.
We can
look at the marriage rates in addition to the divorce rates, see the correlation there, see the correlation of let's say the modern women, modern woman, activating those divorces. They're the ones who are actively trying to leave. But that's what, 70 to 80%?
Those women are older than us. That's not even our generation of women. That's women who's like older than us. So like, we don't even know what our generation is going to do. Our generation might be a whole 180 and be the generation that stays together because we understand how important it is because we waited so long to get married.
Well, I guess you can look at it that way, but I feel like in looking at the stats, that incorporates, active live data. So at any age, that's a possibility. So that's how I feel like they're establishing the results in any type of these data collections, because it's divorce. What are the divorce statistics, like who's initiating it, type of thing, as opposed to what age group.
Okay, that's fair. I am very curious to see what our statistics and our millennials. Are we millennials?
Yes, and I think it is also above 50%, so at least 60, if not 70.
I feel like we got to kind of wait till we're like 45 or like 50.
And that number could be higher.
Or lower. Because people are just getting married now. Like those people who got married, who are divorced now, they got married when they were young.
Sure.
So typically, statistics say if you get married over 30, your chance of survival in marriage is greater than if you got married before 25 or something like that. So I'm very curious to see what our statistics are going to look like for our generation in like maybe 15 years from now.
Okay.
But sidebar, I'm sorry, we went on such a tangent, or I did at least. But I definitely agree with number 8. That's a red flag. If a girl is asking,
that's the first one, number 1.
We're not going backwards, like from 8 to 1.
No, he's going from 1 to 2, all the way up to 9.
Oh, up to 9. Okay, so number 1, red flag, fellas. If a girl is asking you for money, she does not like you. Women do not ask men that they like for money up front. You are just a means to an end.
An ATM.
It's a quid pro quo. It's, hey, you get to hang out with me because I look this way and you look that way. But how we're going to make this work is you're going to give me money and I'm going to hang out with you and make you feel like a man that you want to feel like, because it's a quid pro quo. If a woman likes you, she's not going to be asking you for nothing. She might just pay for you. That might be one of the times where she pulls her wallet out or her card out and be like, you know what? It's okay, honey. Do you want me to do the tip? Or do you want to go get dessert? I'll give you some ice cream. That's when a woman likes you. Not when she asking you for money, like, oh, you better give me this. Or it's a situation where she's expecting like an open relationship, or she's expecting the drama. So she like, at least I can get my $20,000 bag.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So with that in mind, fellas, future son, future daughter, right? Hopefully, God willing. Especially to the son, right? If you are courting her, these red flags are going to be essential, especially the next one. And to close last point about if things that a girl will do if she actually likes you, not just trying to extort you or, take advantage of you type of thing.
Use you for your time.
Right. Be a time thought or thing like that, or she's an attention thought and things like that. If she has the 90-day rule, that's the next one. So here we go. 90-day rule is number 2.
Any kind of rule like this, in my opinion. The first time I hear a woman say she's got a 90-day rule, I'm out. The first time I hear a woman talk about this rule or any other kind of rule like that, I'm out. Just like the United States had a policy, we do not negotiate with terrorists. Women can be emotional terrorists. I do not negotiate with them because if you give a mouse a cookie, it'll ask for a glass of milk. She has a 90-day rule. That automatically implies to me that she thinks her vagina is gold, that it's something that gum important that I have to work, strive, and earn for. I don't work that hard for anything that doesn't benefit me. Her vagina ain't it. If you have these 90-day rules, go out and blame all these Steve Harvey type guys who told you guys this foolishness. That is man repellent. Rule on day 1, in the other 89 days, it'll be you playing with your cat by yourself.
Okay.
90-day rule. I've never heard it in person. I've heard about it. I just never experienced it. That's what I could say about that. But to Kevin's point, I absolutely agree. It's not like I'm going to be sitting at home twiddling my thumbs for 90 days. I mean, potentially you could be dating other people, multiple other people in those 90 days. And by then, when you come back after that 90 days, you have a waiting list. So there you go.
Oh, you meant the man. I thought you meant the woman could have a list of men.
I mean, some women do that because let's not forget, if women are born with that value in the dating market and men have to earn their value in the dating market, but once you become that guy, let's say in that top 20% who's dating 80% of the women, then you're experiencing that same abundance because of your value in the marketplace.
So, okay. So I have a couple of thoughts about this 90-day rule. My personal experience that where I've heard this 90-day rule came from Steve Harvey.
Think like a man, right?
First of all, and I'm just going to say this. I never could understand why a woman would listen to Steve Harvey about dating advice.
Did you see those snappy suits? That's why.
Zoot suits. I just could not wrap my brain around it. And I'm just like, okay, I think initially it was really perplexing to me. Like, why would you listen to, he's not an attractive man. It's not like he's like Boris Kojo walking around with muscles telling you how to, get a man that looks like him. He's just some random dude with a bald head and a mustache. No disrespect to Steve Harvey and his personal professional career. But as a dating expert, I just never understood that. I couldn't wrap my brain around it. Fast forward, with that extra level of experience, right? Me changing and getting more context to elevate my thought pattern is because he was telling women what they want to hear. And women love. We will spend so much money. We will give all our money away. All the money that we've earned because, we boss bees and stuff.
By the way, the media absolutely knows this. Businesses know this.
Of course.
And they pander to you, unfortunately.
Of course.
And you eat it up like cake.
Like cake, because you know why? We love to feel good. Women love to feel good even when they feel bad. And the worse they feel about they, and I'm just saying they as us collectively as women, I don't know if it's majority, but this is just what I've, I guess, noticed, observed, experienced. We like to feel good. We will go on a shopping spree with our last $20, to make ourselves feel better with a new pair of shoes. We will listen to whoever tells us what we want to hear to just completely, I guess, propel that delusional state of it's okay. This too shall pass, instead of dealing with what will actually work.
Coping mechanisms.
And instead of drugs, and alcohol, women prefer nice words. We are word-driven people. I think that's the difference between men and women. I'm noticing men are more action based receivers of learning, and women are more lingual based. That's why a man could say, you know, the pimp. What is the pimp book? Teacher, what is it? How to Pimp a Butterfly? No, that was the album. What's that book? It's a book that's for pimps, and he tell you how to say certain words to get women to do what you want. It's manipulation.
Oh, by Don Magic Wand.
I'm over here quoting Kendrick Lamar album
Bishop
covers.
Don Juan.
So, long story short, we like to hear good words. So that's why women would follow Steve Harvey. And that's where these women are getting this whole reborn virgin thing. Let me be celibate with you for 90 days to make you work for it. So the premise itself isn't necessarily off, right? It's just extreme. So like men, I mean, I've noticed, and this is what I would tell my daughter, is that, or our daughter, you can't be thirsty. Like you really can't be, and not in a sense of like, you need to be a productive person in life. You need to have your own life. You need to have activities. You need to have interests. You need to have hobbies. You need to take care of yourself. And a red flag would be a woman who has nothing going on in her life. So that, I think, is the basis or the premise of why Steve Harvey's like, oh, just make him wait 30 days or whatever, 90 days to have sex. In reality, most women I know who was doing that was busting it wide open.
Allegedly.
Nah, I mean, allegedly. I mean, people was busting it wide open and then closing it for 90 days because they liked the dude. And it's like, girl, you just gave the other dude, all he had to do was buy you a chicken sandwich from Wendy's and it was busted wide open. And now you want to wait 90 days because they trying something new. So that's from the female perspective. Now, if you're a woman and you actually have chastity and you are a virgin and you are this, you know, I guess very traditional valued woman, traditional base valued woman, then that makes sense that you wouldn't sleep with somebody in like for 90 days. But, you know, most women aren't like that. So to trick a man into thinking you're like that, they would use the 90-day rule. And the reason why you probably never heard a woman say it out loud is because she's not going to say it to you. She's just going to do it. Like, I'm just not going to sleep with him for 90 days.
Or she's just going to Nike it up. You never know.
What's that mean?
Just do it. Duh, Clo.
But see, it's just about the chastity factor, right? Because it makes you think. So there's a basis behind it, but I feel like that 90-day rule thing is just super extreme. It's like a woman is going to sleep with the man that she wants to sleep with, period. It don't matter if it's a day. It doesn't matter if it's 20 days, 90 days, 5 years down the line.
And she will go out of her way to do it.
Yes. But on the other token of it, it's like if you're a dude and you notice that she's really like, you know, making you wait 90 days just to make you wait 90 days. She's being fake. She's manipulating you. It's a manipulation tactic that doesn't really work. It worked in the beginning, but I think when men started catching on about it and they started hearing about it, that's when they was like, nah, you know, don't make her wait 90 days. You got to cut her off. But that was after enough of y'all got. So it's like, y'all were a little delayed, you know.
I think it's it's kind of how you were saying before, how women today are more open about it. So they have less shame about it, which is a key element, right?
Yeah.
If they're shameless, I mean, where is the bar? Is it on the floor? Is it below the floor? If you have no shame, there is no bar.
No, it's no bar.
So
no cap.
And again, no reality. So unfortunately, some women are so bold to even try to do this in their own social circle, right? So you'll have someone who, and I've seen this personally. You'll have someone who
allegedly,
right? Thank you. You'll have someone who will try to, let's say, rebrand themselves in the marketplace when we all know how you were. So I was just like, why do you have cognitive dissonance? And at that point, it's like conscious cognitive dissonance, because we both know I know better. We both know they know better. they know better. But if you was easy in college or whatever, then, unless you move or find new friends, everyone's already going to know about you type of thing.
That's why that 90-day thing wasn't working. Like, wait, hold up. I know you gave it up to this person and this person at the same time on the same day, first day. Now, why are you making me wait 90 days?
Thank you. So if you have a starting five of people that confirmed smashed, and you out here acting new, oh no. Now again, if you're a born again version, we understand spiritually and religiously as a brother and sister in Christ, right? We understand that journey. That's amazing. However, if everyone does know your past, that's what's going on inside of you, pun absolutely intended. But that's not the reality externally, unfortunately, because of those decisions that you decided to make. And unfortunately, in society, not all women's choices are being held accountable to women, unfortunately. And this 90-day rule is another example of that.
I would say, just to round this out, be you. Just be yourself. If you was busting it wide open, you chose to do that. Own it. You know what I'm saying? Just own it. And the thing about it is, the 90-day rule, if he asks why he's saying that's a red flag, is because it's not you being genuine to yourself.
Authentic.
There's a person out there for everybody. Essentially, it might not be the person you want, but they out there. So it's like, you gotta just own you. If you make decisions, you have to own up to it, and you have to live your life accordingly. And the results that you get from what you put out there and the decisions you make, that's what you get stuck with. But the minute you start manipulating people with this whole 90-day thing, that's just one example. You're still not gonna get the outcome that you want, because everything comes to light eventually.
As a person who is obsessed with advertising and marketing, this is totally false advertising.
False advertising. Definitely. That's the problem. Oh, and my last statement about that thing is, ladies, and this is just a sidebar for y'all, I'm not gonna say it's 100%, but if you playing that 90-day rule thing, please just know that there is definitely a chance that somebody else is busting it wide open.
Yes,
a lot quicker than you are, and you might lose that man waiting 90 days.
It's your boy.
And if you're going to say your rebuttal is, well, if he ain't going to wait for me, he ain't the one. Okay. That's fair. You're absolutely right. He's not the one. So why even wait? Why wait 90 days? Like, what are you going to know in 90 days? Besides, you could take a test. I think that you should definitely get tested within, before you sleep with somebody, just to make sure. But other than that,
if he has options,
that's enough. Don't call us, we'll call you. Thank you.
And it's going down, and then you gonna be mad when he walked down the aisle with that woman. Like, dang, I shouldn't have waited 90 days. Steve Harvey, what's good? I need my refund. That's it.
All right. Number 3 is a bit controversial, but again, this is advice that you would give your child, and potentially ours, hopefully.
She's a single mother. I'm not going to bash single mothers or anything like that, but bottom line, there used to be a time when a woman had a baby out of wedlock. It was few and far between. And there was some shame that went along with it, enough to where they didn't keep going out and doing it over and over again. Now it's a badge of honor. You as a man are worth too much and too valuable. If you've got your head on straight, you're out doing your thing, working your business, taking care of your business, you should not be forced to pick from a crop of women who've already had another man's children. You should not have to go out here and fight the world, build such and so forth, to come home to a woman that you will at best be the 4th or 5th most important thing in her life. You deserve better than that. I am sorry, ladies, if you've had a child, that is your responsibility. Own it. And as far as I'm concerned, stay out of the dating scene until your kids are out of the house. You made the choice to have those children, especially if you did it outside of wedlock. If you made that choice, then you make the choice to wear that scarlet letter. It's not our problem, it's yours. Guys, do not date single mothers. Do it at your peril. Next, she's a strong...
Can I start?
Sure.
So, I think that there needs to be context said with this statement. Fellas, if you are a single father,
Yes.
you can totally date a single mother.
Yes.
This specific, and that's the context that's never given when Kevin Samuels is speaking. It's like, oh, bash all single mothers. Like, no, he's speaking to a specific type of man who's in development, right? Who hasn't had any children.
So you're saying that he should or not?
If our son is dating a woman with children, I would be like, whoa, what are you doing, buddy? Like, what's going on here? Because it's like, unless he has children of his own because of his past, that's different. Or if he's divorced, that's different. Or if he has this, some people have a desire to, and this is probably very few men, I don't think, but I've heard this perspective, is they have the desire to have that mentorship in a child because they had a stepfather who helped them and grew them. So it's more like not a community service aspect, but it's service to the community through mentoring and becoming someone's father, adopted father, right? So some men have that mindset, which I've heard. And this is just generally speaking, is that I would not date a man that has children. Seriously, like as a potential person to get married. No, I can't. It's just it's not because of him, because the person could be beautiful. They could be wonderful. They can have all these things, but it's just the things that come along with a child.
Baby mama drama.
Yeah, it's not even the kid. Like, I think if the person had a kid and then the parent was like deceased or something, I think that's a different story. But a person who has an active baby mother, baby father, child's parents, family, co-parent in the mix, for me specifically, it's just like I'm not that open to that. I think with my personality, it just would not. I'm not open to that as a long-term marriage. However, if I had children, my perspective might be different. But if I'm going to counsel someone who doesn't have any children and doesn't have any resources, I would advise them to not deal with anyone with a child, because there's many other things that come with that you just are not. A lot of people are just not prepared to deal with that at all. Like, at all. And it's, it takes a special type of person, because children are lovable. You're going to love those children. They are lovable creatures. And sometimes the co-parent person might be a nice person. They might be in a nice co-parenting situation, but there's just too many unknown variables. And people change. People change like the wind. So I think the stakes are too high to go into a family that's already made. And like Kevin said, like, you going to prepare yourself to be number 4 or number 5, because let's face it, the baby mother is probably going to come first because she has his children, or the baby father is going to come first because he made the first child, especially if they were in a relationship together, or even if they're not and the kid is sick, he got to wake up at 2:00 in the morning and go get the kid. It's just like, if you step into that situation, you have to know that you are marrying him and his family. You are dealing with her and her family, so he also becomes a part of your family. It's like on the compound with sister wives. Like, unless you're prepared to be a sister wife, I would not recommend dating a person with children, a man with children. Unless you're ready to be a husband, brother, whatever they're called, I wouldn't recommend that.
That's fair advice. And I would have to stress it even more so for the, potential future sons out there, only because if you yourself do not have any children, right, then it's not your responsibility to take care of someone else's responsibility, because you did not bring those children into the world. The parents did. So those are the parents' responsibility. And to be fair, if you want to be a great parent, typically your kids are going to be the most important thing to you, which is great. That's phenomenal. However, in building a relationship, that's going to be incredibly hard. Typically when you're, going out of your way to do stuff for others, right? For the person who you like or possibly love, right? And long term is really not something that you want to be involved in because of things like baby mama drama or baby father drama, right? You don't know what type of toxic ex they could have. They could be in jail, right? Which puts a different pressure on you. You might have to start watching which way you go home. So to me, it's just too much risk, right? Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but if we're giving general advice to apply in life, it's not the best option, especially considering your value in the marketplace. You haven't even, actually see how high you can ascend, and you are, for lack of better words, picking an option that isn't your best possible option. And by the time you figure that out, it might be too late, because in certain states, speaking as the son of an attorney, right? In certain states, you can actually be liable for child support if a child, even that is not your child, is living in your home for a certain amount of time. And let's be honest, people don't really know the laws of where they are. So that could literally be your reality. And you all might break up. You and the baby mother might break up. But guess what? Because of how family court is structured and how it's not really favored to your rights as a man, typically you're going to be liable for providing for that child, even though it's not yours. As outlandish as that seems, that is a reality in certain states.
So long story short, you can do what you want to do. Nobody is going to say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. But, you got to know the whole picture. And you have to think about the whole picture. Like, not just, oh my gosh, this person is so wonderful, I love them, they're the best person ever, but if only they didn't have this issue. It's like, they do have that issue, and that's something you do have to address. And that's something that before you even get serious with somebody, because there's always a part when you first meet somebody that it can go either way. I can just ghost this person and not have any attachment to them, or I can see what more do they have to offer. So as soon as a person tells you, oh my gosh, I have a child, you have the decision right then and there to say, let me invest some more time in this person and actually get to know them and love them and like them. Or, sorry, I can't, I just can't, I can't deal with that, because you know yourself. Or maybe a person who wants to have a pre-made family, because maybe you don't want to have kids. There's different situations, but
sure.
I personally would say kids, even in a relationship, I hear in marriage, just having kids changes things for most people. So imagine you got kids. Okay, you got a relationship with someone and then you have a kid that's not yours. CBing, that's you know what that stands for? Blocking, right?
Oh yeah.
They blocking the action. And then you got their parent blocking the action. It's just a lot of blockage.
and they could be baby's kids.
It's a lot of blockage. But it's people make decisions. But if you make that decision, I just say be aware and be prepared and know what you're getting yourself into. And don't be delusional. Because if you choose to do it, just know what it comes with.
Yeah, be incredibly authentic. Just for me personally, I could never take, a single mother seriously, only because my level of empathy, right? Because I would feel bad for the kid once the relationship ended, right? Because let's be honest, when you're initially courting, long-term, short-term is not even on the table yet. You're figuring out each other, right? And depending on the parent, some parents introduce kids sooner than others, right? There's always going to be a different scale. So it could be a legitimate, inappropriate time for that to happen, because you're not going to be around long-term. Even if that's previously discussed, we understand that sometimes ladies like to think with their emotions, and they do not have a good grasp on reality, even though it was previously stated before?
I don't know. It's sticky. It's a sticky situation. I just, no. It's a no for me.
All right, number 4, she's a strong, independent woman.
Strong, independent, fill in the blank woman. For me, you have 3 times to say that. I'm a strong, independent, blank woman. I'm a strong, independent, blank woman. I'm a strong, independent, check please, I'm gone. Anytime that comes out of their mouth, non-negotiable in the sentence, whether it's day 1 or day 300. Because to me, that's an underlying issue that's waiting to burst through. A person who has to say, I'm a strong, independent, anything is none of the things she says. It's like if you find yourself having to come into your house saying, I'm the man of this house. You got to say you're the man of the house, there's a problem. If you watch Game of Thrones, when Joffrey says, I'm the king, and Tywin told him, any man who has to say he's the king is not the king. Strong, independent, blank, anything needs to be strong, independent, and alone. She believes that men and women are equals.
Strong, independent, and alone.
So that's a coping mechanism. It's just a coping mechanism. If you are, you feel like you constantly have been abandoned, and no matter how much you, I guess, try to coexist with someone else, it just doesn't work. Eventually, you can adopt the phrase, I'm a strong, independent woman. Because you got to tell yourself that so you don't cry yourself to sleep every night because you're alone. And a lot of times, like I said, it's a coping mechanism or a defensive mechanism because you are, or these, I guess, people using this phrase are expecting to fail when it comes to co-relationships. So they have to tell themselves that they can deal with things alone and they're independent and they're proud of it, right? Because if you keep telling yourself something long enough, you hope that you will believe it. So for me, I definitely see that's a red flag.
To me, as a guy, that represents that you are not a traditional woman, which is your choice. That's fine. That's fantastic. But because you're not a traditional woman, you are not only not going to get courtship, you are never going to be in the relationship category simply because you do not possess long-term partner or wife skills simply from that mindset. And that's just, that's probably the biggest neon red flag in dating right now. So if you're going around saying this rhetoric, you're putting yourself in the bin.
And I like how you said long-term partnership, because how can you be in a partnership if you're independent? It's literally the opposite of a partnership. So if you're saying I'm an independent company, I don't need no mergers. I'm not merging with you, Apple. I don't need your sponsorship. I'm strong all by myself. I'm Walmart. I don't need no Apple products. What's Best Buy going to do? They're going to sell that Apple product. Like you can't, I feel like a lot of times we're trained these coping mechanisms and then we shout them from the rooftops, but they don't align with what we really want. And then you just keep getting the opposite results and you're wondering why you got to keep saying I'm strong and independent, because you're saying that you want to be strong and you want to be independent and you don't need no man, because that's usually the next phrase that comes after that. I don't need no man. So if you're saying this stuff and you're giving that energy to the universe, it's going to give it right back. And I feel like as a man, I guess, dating and you hear that, as a woman, when I hear that, it bothers me. So I can just imagine hearing it from a man and you sitting across the table and you got to pay the matter of fact, if I was a dude and a woman said that to me, she paying for dinner.
Eesh.
We at least going halfsies on this since you strong and independent. Now, there are ways to, I guess, convey that you are a person who has grit, or that you're a person who is dedicated or passionate, or a person who is essentially resilient, right? And I feel like a lot of times women want to convey that, But it comes out in a way that is opposite of what they actually want to convey. So they don't get the results they're looking for. Like, I would push us as women to use better adjectives. Like, we're educated. We're the most educated group of women or people on this planet statistically with degrees. So, you know, we don't need to say that. We can convey our feelings in other ways, and we can actually speak into existence what we want instead of the opposite of what we want, and then get mad when we don't get what we want. It's foolish to me. Like, it's a phrase, so people just like to latch on to it, and it does make you feel better, right? Somebody dumps you, like, man, I'm strong and independent. I don't need no man.
And typically, coping mechanisms are very empowering. That's why you cope with them, right? So if you're feeling low, you got to say these things to feel high, right? Feel better. And speaking as a former athlete and a lover of sports, to all the other former athletes or current athletes and lover of sports out there, if you are part of a team, right? I played basketball, baseball, soccer, or football, as you would say, abroad. If I'm on a team and I hear a new teammate saying, I'm the best player, no, not the best player in the world, but I'm a one-man team or a one-woman team. You know what I mean? I'm Michael Jackson and y'all, you know what I mean? Like, you the backup
David
dancers.
Ruffin. You ain't David Ruffin.
How are you going to build a team, right? Because long-term partnership or, marriage, you guys are part of a team, and each team has their role, right? But if you're a selfish teammate straight out the gate, no one's going to pass you the ball, are they? No one's going to look out for you. If you're a quarterback and you have that attitude, your line is going to let you get tackled every time. So if you were like that at work, you could forget it.
Yeah.
So that doesn't serve you in any platitude. So why would you do that in the most intimate space you have in your life? That, to me, that doesn't make any sense.
It's so weird. People say that on a date. Like, I'm a strong, independent black woman. I don't need no man.
They put it on. I'm sure you can find it on dating,
on Instagram,
seriously on dating profiles. I'm sure people have that. Like Kevin said, they consider it a badge of honor. So they're waving the flag.
You know what also I think women interpret that phrase as, and I think most women interpret the phrase as this, who use it and they don't understand it's bad or looked at bad, is they don't need a man to support them financially.
I mean, that's great. Congratulations. You're a functioning adult, but you don't, you don't get props for that.
So let me give you context. So when we were growing up, it was always instilled in us that you don't want to be a burden on a man.
Right. I get that.
On a lot of women, right? So I guess rhetoric that I heard growing up, or like women my age, would be like, oh, I don't want to be a gold digger. Like, it was like a thing, like, do not be in our community. I don't know about other community. Well, other communities, I know what happens. But in our community, it was like, you don't want to be a gold digger. Like, I love you even if you don't have any money. Because it was like a bad thing to be a gold digger. So women are like, well, I'm going to get all the money. And then he can't say that I'm a gold digger because I have my own money. So then they be like, I'm strong and I'm independent. Meaning, I don't need a man to support me. I think that's how it started. And then it kind of morphed into this, I don't need no man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it started with like, I don't need you to support me. I need you to love me because I have the money here for us. But that emasculates men too. So it's like.
Yeah, that says you don't need men.
It says you don't need them. But like women it's weird because it's like when you say something and you have all intentions of saying one thing and then they're hearing, I don't know, Chinese and you're speaking Spanish. Like, you're trying to say, some words translate differently to different people. Like, cool can mean, oh, it's cold outside, I need a jacket. Or it can mean, oh, that's cool. So we're saying one thing and men are interpreting it the other way. So it's like, it's a very weird balance. So I think that's where it originated from. Because we had this stigma about not being a gold digger. So it's like, yo, you could come to me. And that's why women wear it as a badge of honor. Because you don't need to support me financially. I have everything. I just need your love. That's why you see a lot of women dating dudes in jail. Well, not the jail ones. Or broke dudes. And then the dudes treat them all crazy. But they like, I pay for everything. and the dude don't respect them because they leading with their wallet because they strong and independent
from the
and they don't need them.
From the guy perspective, the way I saw it, as you know, we were developing minds, right? I saw in the music, heard it in the music.
Oh, Scrubs.
We
don't need no scrubs. Who wants a scrub though?
Or even the original, hood ratchet type of music. Shout out to P Work, right? Like Webby, INDEN. She got her own. All them
she
songs.
has her own because she doesn't need you to buy it for her.
Right. But unfortunately, the indoctrination of that, it's being presented as if it's a desirable trait from a high value man.
Yes.
But it is not.
And even that Destiny Child song, all the ladies, independent, throw your hands up at me. Yeah, it was a badge of honor to be independent, and I blame that on social media. But we ain't had social media, so I blame it on the industry.
Yeah, the industry, the media.
The media did it, not social media, but the media. And then we socially, where it got around back then, y'all, millennium people, what's the generation after us?
Generation Y?
They like, why did y'all do that? Because
or Z, I think it's Z.
Z, I don't know where we at now.
I think we're Y. I think Z is after us. Yeah.
But where it got around, we didn't need TikTok and stuff. Everybody just knew what it was, word of mouth. But yeah, so I think that's where it originated from, and you hit the nail on the head, and it has morphed into the whole coping mechanism where it's like, dang, I don't need nobody now. Like before I was independent, but now I don't need you too. It's like an extra layer to that.
And I do agree. If there's a guy out there saying, I'm the man in the house, clearly you're not. You feel like you have to say that in order to feel that, right? So it's the same concept if you're saying these things, right? If you're saying I'm worthy of courtship, clearly you are not, because you demonstrate that by your actions and your lifestyle. That's what makes you eligible for courtship, not your words. It reminds me of one of your favorite shows, and Michael Scott screaming, I declare bankruptcy. And Oscar comes up, hey, Michael, that's not how that works, right? That's what's happening to you, unfortunately, right? So when people are telling you the truth, we're not doing it to trigger you, even though that's what it's doing. We're trying to help you get the result that you say you want. And,
sometimes I feel like people don't want to be helped.
Oh, don't save her. She don't want to be saved.
She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. J. Cole, he knew what he was doing with that song. Like, I used to have Captain Save-A-Hole mentality, like, let me save you. And he's like, you can't force people to be saved. I had to learn that the hard way. Like, you can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Stay thirsty. Stay thirsty. Because the more you see other people thriving, the thirstier you going to get in the water right there. It's crazy. But, it is what it is. Everybody here on this planet for their own purpose and to do what they want to do and live their life how they want to live it. And guess what? We all live with what is it? Here are the consequences of my actions staring back at me today. Nobody going to have to tell you. You're going to see it yourself. So it's like you got to just take what you want and leave the rest. But don't be mad at nobody but yourself. That's like we was watching Andor. I'm a geek, y'all. See the baby Yoda in the back? And long story short, this dude caused a lot of people to die because he didn't follow directions. And now he's building his origin story for hate of everybody. And it's like, bro, hate yourself. Don't hate everybody. You're the person who did this. Nobody else. So yeah, that's just my segue.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, right, if a man's in a certain situation, he's not going to have any, it wasn't his fault, that's the result of his decisions, right? If I gained 20 pounds, that's because I decided to lay down, scarf down a bunch of fries, right? Pop a couple beers. That's on me.
Yeah.
That's the result of my choices. So the best option is to be aware of the truth and then make the obvious choice.
Or nah, but
and then
deal with it.
Deal with the consequences and don't complain about it because no one wants to hear it. So.
Nobody cares.
It's not that no one cares. We care. which is why we're doing this. We definitely care, but we do not care to hear your complaining after you complained before. You were given solutions. You did not follow those solutions. So after that point,
It's YOLO.
all right, time for number 5.
Cinco.
That men and women are equals. We are not equals. No male and female of any species on the planet are equal. We are different for a reason. I am not going to negotiate your role and my role. If you come into this saying that we're equal, we're automatically at loggerheads because you're not a woman, in my opinion. You're a female. I don't date females. I date women. Just like the men will hear what I'm saying, the males will probably throw shade. If you want a woman that you're equal, you're really giving your manhood up, and I can't help you. For the guys out there who are trying to hear me, equality is not what it's cracked up to be. Typically, women want equality when it benefits them, and they want to be ladies when it suits them. I don't have time for all the back and forth because I'm trying to do what I'm doing. I'm leading, she's gonna follow. There can't be two captains. Pick your poison. If you pick equality, you'll die a slow death. She's a big time.
This one's funny.
Why is it funny?
Okay, so there's 2 things that stood out to me. And the first thing is, as a woman, when I hear the word equal, I'm not thinking really equal. And I feel like most women are thinking equal. Like there's a nuanced verbiage in there, a nuanced thought in there that everyone, it's a social contract, right? So it's like, yeah, we want equal pay. We want equal rights with our bodies. We want equal say or equal space to speak our thoughts. We want respect. I think equality for women means a level of respect. I don't think it actually means being equal. Like, I feel like some people take that word to the extreme. Like, I don't know any woman who want to go outside and change a tire. I don't know any woman who want to pay for dinner. I don't know any woman who want to stand in lines or get into the club and have to pay the same price as a man. We don't want equality. We want respect as a group of women. And I feel comfortable enough speaking for most women, especially the ones that, you know, are, I guess, in my ecosphere. Like, I don't know any women who are like jumping for joy to take the trash out, or women who want to drive everywhere as a majority, or women who want to do these non-traditional roles or gender role swapping things. No, we don't want equality. We want respect. And when we think equal suits what we want it to suit us. Like, I would like to be able to go to work and be treated equal. Psych. Most women don't want to be treated equal at work. We want perks of being a woman at work. We just want the equal right to go to work. You feel me? Like, who wants to give up the perk? That's like saying somebody who has all the perks wants to give them up to be equal to someone who gets less perks. Because women, we get a lot of perks. We get things paid for. We get doors opened. We get, rescued when things are going bad. We don't have to go to war. We can, we can do a lot of things that men don't get the opportunity to do. So I really, really find it hard to believe that women want equality. I think we just want respect. So when Kevin say, and I think he says it in jest because he's an entertainer too. Red flag. I mean, as a man, is it a red flag? I can't speak on that, but I could speak on it from a female's point of view. Because if a man tells me he wants to be equal, I'm gonna be looking at him like he crazy.
I could definitely see that. And as Kevin alluded to, I don't think anywhere in nature is there any equality in the sexes of animals, right? So even in the exception to the rule with, let's say, spiders, right, where the female is bigger than the male, right, and then consumes the male after copulation, there's still no equality there. There's always going to be a head and a tail, right? So that's what Kevin was saying in terms of the roles. Women have their roles in a relationship, as do men, and they're typically expected, and they typically lined up with, your actual, you know, skill set and desires if you're being completely authentic. Now, some people may not want gender roles, and that's your choice. However, again, this is for women who want a traditional outcome. So if you're not going to be a traditional woman, you're not going to get a traditional outcome. That means you're a modern woman, which is fine. That's your choice, but you need to change your expectations if you're not willing to fulfill traditional duties. And again, that's your choice, but there is no equality there regardless in the relationship, simply because men and women have different roles.
So I think also when women say equality, I think it's just lost in translation with men too.
Oh, like womanese, I got you.
Yeah. So like when we're saying equal, we want things to be equal. It means like you're doing the same amount of equal work that I'm doing. It's not like I'm doing everything. Like I've seen partnerships or relationships where there's one person, maybe the woman, who's doing everything, paying the bills. The man sitting at home being a bum. She's out here paying the bills. She's taking care of the kids. She's, you know, taking care of the groceries, balancing the checkbook. That's not an equal situation. It's not equal. And then maybe for men too, there might be a man who's working all the time and his woman not doing anything at all. It's unequal. I think the word we should be looking for is balanced. I think that women, we want balance. And we would rather the balance to tip in our favor for things that we don't want to do versus, you know, things we do want to do.
Selective morality.
Yes, of course. Because women, I mean, we were raised that we're fragile. We're, people are going to kill me. The woman's sphere is going to kill me on this one. But whatever. I was raised on Disney, and Disney princesses were very, we had to be rescued. What's wrong with being vulnerable? I feel like there's this sense of like changing women into this non-vulnerable thing. And it's like,
right, turn them masculine.
Masculine. Yes. And it's like, can we just live in our essence? Like, we don't have to pretend to be something we're not. And not to say that all women are feminine or all women are masculine or whatever labels you want to put. But people should be allowed to live in where they want to be, right? And I feel like nowadays, if you're a feminine woman and you're very, oh, I need to be rescued or I'm a damsel in distress, it's like you're shunned for it.
Really?
Yes, you're shunned for it. I don't consider myself to be a damsel in distress with most things because I feel like I have enough knowledge set to do things. But just because I know how to change a tire doesn't mean I want to change a tire. You do that for a break in case of emergency. Like, I feel like every woman should be knowledgeable about things just in case something happens to your man. Like, yeah, you should know how to do certain things, but that shouldn't be the first thing you do. Like, it kills me if I see a woman outside changing a tire, her man in the rain, and her man sitting in the car with the radio on and heat. Like, that's crazy to me. But if we were talking about equality, that would be equality, right?
Sure would.
So I think
got what you asked for.
We should change the word to balanced. I think we should change the word to balanced based on strengths and needs. And I think balance is what all nature wants. Not just humans.
Yin and yang.
Yin and the yang. You feel me? Like,
ain't no, you know what I mean?
They're equal, but they're balanced.
They are. One comes before another as well.
And they're both valued. And I think that's another thing about equal. I think women, when we say equal in womanese, it means that we are valued equally. Like, not one person's more important than the other. I think that's where the equality phrase comes from. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong.
I think probably some people are more valuable in different situations based upon our skill set, based upon the roles. And sometimes certain roles are more valuable than other roles. So going back to the team, if you are one of the best players, you're going to have more responsibility.
I like how you said that. for one, I don't want the responsibility on me. Like,
you want to be a role player, huh?
I like to be the role player. Like, let me know.
Oh, just sit in the corner and hit threes. Okay.
Let me sit in the passenger seat and pick the music. Like, you can make sure we get there safe. You feel me? So it's like, even though I could drive, I don't feel like it. Even though I could be, independent, I don't want to be independent. I'm chilling. Like, I feel like people should stay in their lane. Until you need to be in the other lane. Like, you should always be knowledgeable, just in case. You got a break in case of emergency. You got a fire extinguisher in the house. You know where it's at. You got a evacuation plan to use in case of emergency. The fire's not going up on the stove a little bit and you pulling out the fire extinguisher, just because you know how. It's like you gotta assess the situation. And you should be with someone competent enough, and you should know their competencies in certain things. That is the most important thing, I think. Like, know your strengths, know your role, and understand where your weaknesses are, and find someone who is strong in those places where you're not as strong.
The Josh says, know your role and shut your mouth.
Jabroni.
Jabroni.
Do you smell?
What the Josh is cooking. Ha.
Wait, what was the number? What did he say? I forgot. I got on a tangent. What did he say?
About?
What were we talking about? What number were we on?
We were on 5.
Which was? Oh, equality.
You think you're equal?
Yeah. Is it a red flag? Wait, so what? How would that look in application?
Going Dutch on the first date. 50-50, splitting the bill, 50-50.
So if a woman goes Dutch with you as a man, you're like, oh, that's the sleep. She in the sleeping category.
Of course, which is great. It's fantastic if that's what you're looking for.
See, and then we were told, some women were told in certain generations that, like, you shouldn't expect the man to pay for you because you don't know. You're being considerate if you pull your card out.
I mean, everyone knows that trick. There are people in social situations that do the old wallet trick. Oh yeah, I'll pay for that. Going extra slow. Oh, you got it. Okay, great.
We're gonna be sitting there staring at each other, be like, I feel like there was a meme like that, or maybe Dave Chappelle. Somebody did a skit like that, and they were just looking at each other.
Now, to be fair, I feel like there should be some context on paying for the first date, because as we know, some ladies would just use it as a free meal. So if that's the case, if there is no legitimate interest in dating, right? You're not interested in me at all or like me at all, then yeah, we can go Dutch. That's another safeguard. Or you can be the one to go to the bathroom and not come back.
That's deep. Don't ever do that. That's corny. Fellas, don't ever leave and not come back. That's corny.
No, but if you're there treating him as a free meal, then yeah.
Nah, that's like, you should be, my opinion is, be real. Like, come back to the table like, look, we're going to go half on this because I just am not interested in you like I thought I was, and be real. Like, that's better to me than just leaving, because she not going to learn anything from that.
Right, but in the situations you were leaving, that means that there was, open disrespect and no regard for you as a person. That's what you do in that situation.
People do that.
I mean, you have to.
No, I meant like the disrespect. Like, I don't know. I guess I haven't been on that many dates.
I mean, all right, but again, from a guy's perspective, if you're there, really trying to get to know the person and being in trying to initiate an engaging conversation, find out more about them, and the entire time they're just down on their phone texting and being like, yeah,
oh yeah, okay. That's rude. That's very rude.
So in that aspect, and then order the most expensive thing on the menu.
But see, okay,
come on.
Can I just say one thing that can prevent that from happening, fellas? First date, take her to Starbucks. The most expensive item on the menu is about $20. Like, you should, I feel like before, and that's something that has changed from when we were growing up, because I feel like things have gotten more expensive, right? And women have taken advantage of our liberties of, having men take us out on these very expensive, exquisite dates. Lavish. Lavish.
Yeah, right.
But,
on
you
the
know,
first one, you must be crazy.
Our first date was lavish.
I mean, it was the museum.
It was fun. I had a great time. But I'm just saying, I would tell our son, you know, if you want to take her on a date, take her to Starbucks, take her to a coffee shop, take her to, you know, somewhere that is not breaking your wallet, because you don't want to be investing money, your hard-earned money, on someone who's going to take it from you and not care about you.
More importantly, your time and your energy, because you won't be able to get your time back.
I mean, let's face it, I agree with that, but when we're young, we wasted a lot of time doing stuff, and I feel like it's a Hail Mary in the dating scene at that age. If you're a dude, right, you just go on as many dates as you can. It's a numbers game. But you can't be spending $100 every time you go on a date. And then the thing is, you'll know if you like somebody, if someone likes you, if you say, hey, let's go to Starbucks, and they say, okay, I'll meet you at Starbucks. Because the average woman's going to be like, you need to take me out here. You need to buy me $10,000 bag. You better take me over here to Ruth's Chris. That's a red flag.
Yeah,
so you could test her by saying, hey, let me take you to Starbucks. And you know what's cool about Starbucks? It's no pressure. It's like, if it doesn't work out, because I feel like women, we have a lot of pressure. Women spend a lot of money getting ready for dates, to be honest. So it is time and investment on both of our parts, because we got to get our hair done, our nails done, our new outfit, you know. So it's like, yeah, the man's paying for food, but I just spent $200 getting ready for the night.
I mean, it depends. Because I feel like most women aren't going to get something for a new date.
Depends on the woman and depends on the age.
And if he's never seen you before, all you really have to do is not wear an outfit that is on your social media, and he hasn't seen you in the outfit. What's the big deal?
Well.
Now, to your point, and as you can hear in how she articulated that and the tone of her voice, if she likes you, that is how she's going to be thinking.
Yes. Exactly. So take her to Starbucks first. Take her to, you know, ice cream. Let's go to the ice cream parlor.
Let's tacos.
Not for no Taco Bell. No, if you go to a taco restaurant, they could run up the bill on margaritas.
Nah, if you go to like a food truck taco type of thing.
Oh, food truck taco. Them food trucks expensive. It'd be like $6. You still gonna pay $100.
Nah.
She gonna be like, let me get 3 steak tacos. Let me get extra guac.
But at that point, you're taking liberties.
It's not really taking liberties though, because if someone invites me to go eat, I'm going to order what I want.
Right, but tacos is not going to be that expensive wherever you go.
Dre City and them trucks.
Again, like ice cream, water ice.
Set your budget. And I honestly, first encounter, I would not spend more than $20.
By the way, the more money you spend, fellas, future sons out there, that's not going to be an equitable return, right? Because just because you spend a lot of dough doesn't mean that, you know, coitus, you know, sexual relations that are consensual and enthusiastic is going to ensue.
That's definitely true, because I know people allegedly have gone out on dates and spent like, the man spent like $300 and they did not like to do that all. It just went, because that's what women do. You know, when you're dating and you're young and you don't know any better, and some man's like, oh, let me take you to this exquisite restaurant. Let me do this for you. You're going to be like, all right, I'll see if I like him on a date. Because the date, you know, I feel like men expect that you taking this woman, you spend this money so you can have sex later. But women, for the most part, we're just going on a date to see if we like you. Because people are weird. And like, a man could spend all this money on you and he's a weirdo. And you're like, peace out. And the dude like, oh man, then you go to manosphere. He like, oh man, I spent $400 on this date and this woman just ghosted me. Like, yo, if I'm on this date with this weirdo, I'm ordering the most expensive thing on the menu because I wasted my time coming here. That is a perspective.
That's very interesting. But at the same time,
that's a perspective. That is totally a perspective. Like, you never been on like a date with some weird person, and
of course
you're like, dang, I'm out here, and it's like you don't want to be rude, but at the same time you're like, I need to be rude because I just spent my time.
But at the same
coming here,
at the same
and I could have been over there.
Ladies typically know that it's on before the date, or if it's not on before the date, and the date isn't going to change that. You already know.
So what happened is a woman can know that it's on before the date.
Right.
And then they get on the date and the dude's a weirdo.
That's fair.
And they do spend $300, $400 because he knows he's a weirdo. He's like, I know I'm a weirdo. Let me spend this money, you know? And then she like, all right, I'm going to spend your money. I'm going to ghost you after this. Because you're a weirdo. And I didn't know you was a weirdo because I wouldn't even been out here. It's some women, and this is a new thing for me. I didn't realize it was like a thing until I watched videos, and maybe it's not a thing. But there's some women who are like nervous someone's gonna like kidnap them on a date or something. I mean, carry like pepper spray.
Well, yeah, if fear is being perpetuated in the media, and as you alluded to, women are very strong with their emotions, and they like to hear what they want to hear. So if you have that fear, and that fear is constantly, you know, indoctrinated you and thinking that you're always in a situation where men are the predators and a majority of the men are the predators when it's really a minority.
Yeah.
And when you focus on the majority and not the minority, then the minority get away with it.
Yeah.
So you need to spend all that energy and attention on the specific individuals and not cast that to a general basis of men worldwide, which is what is happening in the West and all Western countries, unfortunately. And statistically, it's not the case. Mm-hmm. And your fear is only, you know, making you hold on to your trauma, which you may have typically. And, you know, no one know what you've been through. We understand all that. But it's not other people's, you know, fault for your trauma, right? So you're putting the blame on them preemptively,
strangers,
right? Who, like, we're at a stage in society where if a woman is texting, right, and not looking, and she's about to cross into the street and a bus is coming, and a man can be like, hey, excuse me, miss, and she's like, all that nonsense, right? And then he's like, oh, no, for real. And he's like, excuse me, I have a boyfriend, and keeps walking, keeps texting, and get hit by the bus. Everyone's gonna look at the man like, yo, why didn't you try to save her? Which is ridiculous at the moment, but that's where we are, right? And if he would have kept doing it, or trying to, like, if he actually grabbed her, she would have said that's assault.
You know, I think that part of me feels like it's a very minute number of women who feel like that, but it's just like on the internet, and it's like these pockets of people who really believe that, and it's just being indoctrinated into us. Like, we were watching She-Hulk, and it really bothered me because it's like you're wearing these revealing clothes for attention with makeup and your hair and all these things, and then you're mad when a man tries to talk to you. That's the whole point. Like, it bothers me when people say, oh, I'm just getting dressed up because I like the way I look. And it's like, yeah, you do like the way you look because you like the attention it garners. Because if you didn't like the attention it garners, you wouldn't be wearing that. And that goes for any type of look, gothic look, you know, whatever. Anything. People dress a certain way for artistic expression, but it's because you like the way it makes you feel when people react to you. So that's just a whole nother dark, deep hole we can go through. No pun intended.
Yes. And now we can go to
next one.
Number 6.
Okay.
She is a church girl. Hopefully this isn't blasphemous.
We'll see.
Church girl. I'm a Christian. I was born and raised in the church. I attend regularly, but big time church girls tend to come with big time church problems. There's no more hypocrisy in dating than in the church, because unless she's a big time church girl and a virgin, you're already going to have issues. Oftentimes, big time church girls try to use the Bible as a weapon against the men that they date. to hold you biblically accountable for everything that it says a man should be, but yet not hold themselves biblically, morally, or ethically accountable to anything that it says a woman should be. They'll tend to take scriptures out of context, use biblical stories for their own selfish and manipulative ends, and hit you in a place to where you really can't defend your spirituality. That is the height of manipulative, deceptive, bad behavior. I don't roll with big time church Bible thumpers for these primary reasons. If it doesn't suit you, move on. But you know the kind of person I'm talking about. She's got lots of single girls.
Okay, so as someone who did grow up in the church, I do think that was my first time identifying the birth of modern women. I didn't know it at the time, couldn't even conceptualize it to even observe it in real time, but going back in my memories, because what Kevin's saying is absolutely true, because there are an abundance of church girls, right, who will, it reminds me of, modern women wanting to be treated traditional, but I'm like, you're not even following that. So you're the walking contradiction. So it was always so interesting to me to see that. I was just like, wow. And from my perspective, typically if I was courting someone like that, or, just talking to someone like that, it would be an excuse not to take things further, or it would be an excuse to delay what I was really there for. And you could tell that they want to do it, but they like the attention that they get from not giving it up, and then that empowers them even more to keep doing it. It's very interesting. It's like a twisted cycle.
So I think that a lot of people hide behind masks of things, and it's. I would say that what you were speaking about, that's not just in the church. I think that women
definitely
do that, period. However, what I do know about, and I personally did not grow up in the church. I guess I did not grow up in the church. My family's from the South, so like we would go to church on holidays. But not like my grandparents went to church, obviously. But I was very non-secular growing up.
So you would be a heathen in their
I'm a heathen, allegedly. But like I was exposed to different religions, which was kind of cool. I went to Catholic school for a while, which was interesting. And I visited other people's churches, blah, blah, blah. Well, I, for one, didn't have my experience internally in the church, but like as an external outsider. And it's funny because I've been in situations where people forget that they have a past, and then they wave the Bible flag in the air.
And they're born again virgins.
And it's like, I'm considered the heathen, but I ain't do half the stuff these other people did, but they the ones Bible thumping. So that for me is what I hear when I hear, that's my perspective of being an outsider of the church. It's like people like to have an image portrayed of themselves that's not necessarily consistent with values.
Marketing and branding, yes.
Yeah, marketing and branding. But we know marketing and branding is not 100%. So, you take it with a grain of salt. But I think that him saying this specific, I guess, red flag is just alluding to the fact of someone who is waving a red flag in the air. Just like the last two, I guess, red flags. Like someone who's king's not going to come and say, I'm a king. Someone who's religious doesn't have to say they're religious. Their actions kind of do that. So if they're saying, hey, I'm religious, we can't do this.
Okay, now, number 7. And this one should be very obvious, but it may not be to others. She has lots of single girlfriends.
You ever see a pack of animals roaming a neighborhood? There's always a lead animal, and the ones that roam. It's all a bad situation. It's a game. Single women who hang out with other single women sit around and talk about single women stuff, and it's typically a lot about man bashing. Because just like most women, anytime they break up, it's never their fault. They never take accountability. Everyone they broke up with is a jerk. So if you start dating this woman who's hanging out with a lot of single girls, she's gonna go back to her friends, and everything that happens good over here, you're gonna be getting undermined with over here. She's got a lot of single girlfriends that she hangs out with, or a lot of single girlfriends, period. Peace, two fingers. You can't win because there's strength in numbers, and female foolishness is at an all-time high, and we don't need to deal with it. Avoid women that got a lot of single friends. And another thing, women that have a lot of single friends don't typically hang out with women who are in relationships or married because they themselves don't know how to be. They know single. Let them stay single. She comes from a long...
Okay. How do you feel about that as a woman, Clo?
Is it a red flag if a person has a lot of friends?
You got to specify that.
So like I don't know how it is to have a whole bunch of friends.
You mean single friends?
Just friends, period. Is it like, does he mean a lot? Like meaning like out of your two friends?
He's saying specifically single friends.
No, I mean out of your two friends, they're all single. Or out of your like 50 friends, they're all single. Like, is there a difference?
Well, you have two friends and they're both single. The concept still applies.
I think it's different. I feel like it could be a red flag if you have a whole bunch of single friends. Just like it would be like if you find a guy who has a whole bunch of single friends. Clearly, it means that they're in their, I guess, era of singleness together.
I think a real world example, and only because I watched like 1 or 2 episodes, because I was coerced in my youth. Have you ever seen Sex and the City?
Yes.
Isn't one of the main characters married?
Yes.
But yeah, she still hangs out with thoughts.
Well, 2 of them are married. They were all thoughts, though, I think. Well, no, one of them wasn't.
The one who was married.
But she was very strong-minded, if I recall. I didn't get into that series that much, but it was like a dynamic of different women. So like one was like an outward thought. One was a thought looking for love. The other one was like confused. And then she was like the goody two shoes one.
Right, but typically birds of a feather. That's the concept he's getting at. Birds of a feather flock together. So if she's hanging out as a, was it Jay-Z said, and is that your chick? In one of his verses, one of the lost verses, hanging out with chicks who we swallowing.
Ooh.
Hey, do you honestly, do you think that's those are, if you're a collection of your 5 closest people and all of them are single, then all their single, as Kevin is alluding to, all their single habits that's keeping them single is going to rub off on you. And then you're going to get indoctrinated from your social network to think a certain way. And that's going to mess up your relationship.
I think that...
in addition to being a thought, because typically thoughts roll together. So
yeah, I would say that thoughts do roll together. Unless there's an exception to the rule. However, I think that it just depends on where you are in life, right? They always say like married women shouldn't hang out with single people because you're just at different stages in your life, and your friends are the people who give you the most advice. So if you are in the stage of your life that you having fun and you chilling and hanging, of course it's cool to have single friends. If you're a man who's looking for a woman who to be serious with, you probably would not have your best option with a woman who's surrounded by single people. I agree with that. But if you're a man who wants to have fun, why not?
well, of course. But at the same time, typically let's say the pack of single ladies, if you will talk the woman into doing things that is inauthentic to her.
Yeah, women give bad advice, y'all. I feel like
worst.
I feel like we give good advice for feeling better, but not good advice for doing better. most of the time. And I feel like with women, a lot of times, I can understand what he's saying, because a lot of times women are jealous of other women who are in a relationship and they're not. And another thing is they're jealous because they might not be ready to be in a relationship. And then this guy comes along and takes their best friend or their going out buddy away from them. So they can't find anybody to be with. So they're mad. And so they're going to do anything they can to make her single again, because it takes away from her fun. So I do agree with Kevin in saying that if you're a man and you want to be serious with someone, it's probably best that you don't deal with someone who's in a friendship, I should say, with a bunch of girls who are single, because they going to be hating. And anything you do, even if you don't do anything, they're going to be putting those little seeds of deception in her ear.
2 cents a doubt.
Or, who knows? Like, women are weird. We have weird tendencies, and
then do things. Take shots at your significant other. If you're venting to these people, that's even worse about your relationship. You could see how they would steer you the wrong way
or the right way, and that's the crazy part. It's a 50-50, right? Because I feel like sometimes women try to empower their friend
by delusion.
Not necessarily. Some women. I think you're speaking maybe from one perspective. That definitely happens.
I mean,
but the other perspective is a woman, all the girlfriends see he crazy, and you trying to tell your girlfriend he crazy or whatever, fill in the blank of adjective that's not, aligned with what you want. And the girlfriend's delusional. But at the same time, it's like, it can go either way. But if you're with single people, most likely they're going to exemplify the things that he's doing wrong, because they want you back to have fun with, because you were the fun one.
Right, out in the streets again.
Yeah, like, some things work when you go out. You need a certain number of people to go out with. Now, if y'all were going out group of 4 and now it's 3, it's going to feel weird. Or if you're going out group of 2 and now there's 1, you can't go anywhere. You're going to go out with people who are corny. So there's that like selfish, I guess, incentive in the girl group to want to, rein her back in, especially if they're jealous or they want to have fun for selfish reasons.
Now, keeping that in mind, I'm going to quickly transition to number 8, because I think they are incredibly related. Kevin did this very wisely. She comes from single women and her family.
Long line of single mothers, aunts, and cousins. My ex-wife hit this to the mold. I love that woman. She was fine as frog's hair, but when I went her family, 13 of the most beautiful women I have seen in one family, 11 of them were single. And I got to know why. Because they all had that same strong, independent, blank woman strength. They all had that quintessential attitude, dysfunctional group of harpies if I ever met them. Nice enough people when you meet them one-on-one, but if you have a long line of single mothers, aunts, and cousins, you have generational curses, problems, and things in that family. It will rear its head sooner or later. You don't want to be around either way. The downside is this woman typically has really good sex game. So think with your big head, not with your little one. Look at the chips on the board and adjust accordingly. Don't even let yourself get sucked in. Ask some questions. Figure out what her family life is like, her family history. You're interviewing her for a job inside the corporation of you. You're the CEO. Why are you going to bring in somebody who's going to embezzle from the company, sell your secrets, and leave you in bankruptcy? And lastly, she's got it.
I mean, if we're talking statistics, it only makes sense what he's saying. Like, if you're raised around it, you are who you are around. That's why they say birds of feathers flock together.
Additionally,
feathers to birds. Did I say that right?
Birds of a feather flock together. Additionally, similar to how typically if you're raised by your parents to be a certain party, let's say Democrat or Republican or independent, statistically you tend to adopt their same beliefs. So this also is the case in dating. So if there's a certain contempt for men in a certain household and it's all women, then that's going to transfer to you potentially unless you see the light or see objectively and are not too indoctrinated into this ideology.
You are where you come from sometimes. Like you are a culmination of your experiences. So if that's all you're exposed to, that's all you're going to be able to give out. That's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And finally, number 9.
Had a history of broken relationships, especially if she's an 8, 9, or 10. 8s, 9s, and 10s, every one of their exes were all jerks and buttholes. I've never ever met a woman who's upfront about their relationships in the past and say, you know what, I messed that up. I cheated on him, I hurt him, I did this, such and so. It's always something was wrong with every guy. From high school to college to lifetime, from lifetime to college to high school to junior high to elementary. Each and every boyfriend or guy they've dated along the line was always something wrong with the men. Guys, step back from this for a second. Ask yourself, the only common denominator in all of her situations was her. If there's always something wrong with everyone and it's not her, it's going to be you in a minute. Avoid this kind of woman at all costs, because all she knows is how to break up. All she knows how to be is in a dysfunctional relationship. You're not going to come in and fix her. You're not going to come in and save her. Save yourself. Avoid her up front.
And yeah, I definitely have to agree with that and actually bring up one of his previous red flags. I think it was number 3, which was to not date single mothers. So if you're dating a single mother and she has a history of broken relationships and she's the common denominator, that means she has a history, essentially a Carfax of making bad and poor decisions if all or most of her significant others, previous significant others, are jerks, a-holes, toxic, right? So this is another reason why that you don't want to date single mothers, but also, and not saying that all single mothers are toxic or anything like that. However, this is a reason why. It's a potential reason why, because you're assessing risk. Because at the end of the day, it is your life, right? So if you're making these decisions to be with certain people, you should at least know all the facts so you can make the right decision. And if there's a history of broken relationships and she's not only telling you about it, you could also be in the friend zone, because typically you're going to do that with a guy in the friend zone. You're not going to tell that to a guy that you actually like. So if you're hearing that, you might be in the friend zone and not know it, right? She might be using you as the gay best friend, right? Where she doesn't view you sexually at all. You're just a man that, she can vent to, which is a completely waste of your time.
That was such a mean answer.
For real.
I think that the first step is acknowledging, I think as a woman, because, people have relationships that were with people that they attracted who might not have been the kindest people or the smartest people or the nicest people or, responsible people, whatever, insert negative quality here. But I think that one thing that he didn't mention was context about the woman's acknowledgement of that, right? Like you have to acknowledge the fact that I was attracting these, because I do believe that people have had situations where every one of their exes was crazy or something, because that was where they were in that space and that's the type of people they were attracting. And I think the problem comes into play when people aren't accountable for their role in being in those type of relationships. And I think that comes with growth. So I think I would add a caveat to what Kev's saying, is that if you're with a woman who says they were not the problem, or you're with a woman who lacks accountability of why she was in those type of relationships, definitely a red flag. The same if you see a man and, he got a trail of bodies behind him, or relationships, and, it's never what he did wrong. That's just a red flag. Like, I feel like once you come to a space where you can acknowledge your part in that relationship and your toxicity and, you know, your lack of awareness or your lack of confidence or your lack of whatever, which caused you to be in those situations. I think that that's the most important thing, is self-actualization and self-reflection. And because people aren't perfect and you learn through experiences, right? Like, I think life's greatest teacher is to give you things you don't want, so that you understand what you do want and what you do deserve. But you also have to be accountable for your actions, and that comes together. So I think if someone doesn't have those two things to balance it out, it could be very toxic, and they can drag those traits into the next situation and turn that person in that relationship to something super toxic, especially if you're not acknowledging the toxicity. like if you know something's toxic, you can take the ample steps to acknowledge it in the moment, in the present, and fix it. But if you just ignore it and you just keep going, and a lot of people find themselves in the same situation with different people. Life will teach you a lesson. If you don't learn it, you will just repeat it until you come to a space where it's the same exact person, but just a different face. And that's just a sign that, you're the common denominator. And I think that's what he hit on in saying you're the common denominator. Like, you're the only you are in control of the people who you allow in your space. And when you allow those type of toxic situations in your space, it's just a reflection of who you are. So I think that with the growth, it comes a change of scenery and a change of partner.
Right. I mean, anyone who's been listening to me, and thank you for listening to any of my podcasts for the past couple of years, I'm a big proponent on personal responsibility, number one, but also number two, self-awareness. Come on, ladies.
Self-awareness is sexy.
Self-awareness is the new sexy. If you're unaware that you're the issue, that is not attractive at all. And you could be in situations where you might like a guy, you might think you're vibing a lot, but depending on his level of experience with, unfortunately, girls like you, it's never going to be long term, because you have a history of having broken relationships where you are the victim, right? So you are a priestess on the altar of victimhood. You're Chicken Little. The sky is falling every single time, and it's not your fault. So until you look at that woman in the mirror and make that change, you're always going to have the same outcome until men don't want you anymore anyway. And then you're going to have a coping mechanism, like being the crazy cat lady. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I think that I would say the summary of these 9 red flags is self-accountability, self-awareness,
therapy.
Yes, for sure. And honesty with yourself, lack of delusion, a strong support network of people who can, counsel you,
tell you the truth, keep it a buck with you.
Yeah, keep it 100, and accept the truths, the hard truths. Those are the ones that's going to help you and push you to grow. You don't grow in your comfort zone. Like, you always grow when there's a need. And I feel like a lot of times we feel like we're okay. We don't need to dive into that. We don't need to be better. We can be better without opening Pandora's box, per se. And I think that these 9 red flags are real. I mean, there's probably more out there.
Sure.
But I would definitely give this advice to our son and our daughter, from the female perspective, because I feel like even though this is geared towards men, and I made that preface before we started, a lot of this can be applied to just people. These are just people red flags, in a sense. Be real. If you see somebody capping, waving, a red flag, like, I'm this person and I'm this and I'm that, it's like, all right, why you guys say that? Let me just see what your actions.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely agree with that. And I think that it's best for everyone to be self-aware, because, it's kind of like you're not aware that you smell publicly. Like certain people who care about their hygiene, right, go out of the way to make sure they don't stink, right? They don't have an odor, right? But some people are completely oblivious to it. Maybe they're nose deaf. I don't know. But sometimes you are the repugnant smell in the relationship. And until you realize like, oh, I got to wash myself type of thing. And you understand the metaphor I'm trying to make. It's time for you to bathe.
Yes. And in dating, self-awareness is key for men. Like if you see the red signals and the red flags, I feel like people don't know the red flags maybe.
Or don't care.
Or they don't care. You know, people, like I said in the beginning, people are there for their motives, and people have separate motives, different motives. So you just don't know. But if you have a specific motive, and I think what Kevin was alluding to, Mr. Samuels was alluding to, was being in a serious relationship with the woman.
This is how you screen.
Yeah, this is the pre-screen.
This is how you identify women who are worth courting.
Yes, before you go out and spend $300 at, you know.
But also, you might not learn these things like about her family or whoever until deeper into the relationship or the talking or the dating or whatever, and then that'll be a red flag. Like, oh, I didn't see this initially, but you know, that's going to be a potential issue because, again, when we're dating each other, when we're courting, you're always going to give your best foot forward. You're always going to, you know, hide, you know, your flaws. That's how we are. It's marketing. It's branding. If you look at people's IG, you're only seeing the highlights. It's not the highlight reel. It's not their actual life. So that has been,
unless you me.
Oh, okay. And that transfers in the dating space. So when you figure that out, it's more important to be authentic, be upfront, be transparent. Because if you're transparent and that person values the transparency, then you're gonna be in a better situation.
Be you. Don't be capping for the gram. Like, don't be capping on these dates unless, you know, it's just, honestly, I think it's better to be real upfront because you could just sift people out immediately. And I do appreciate even the creepers that I have encountered. At least they were creepers the first day. Could you imagine dealing with somebody, and this has happened to people, you deal with somebody and then the craziness comes out later on, you like, dang, I already invested all this money and this time. And I feel like that's what a lot of people, what happens, like you just said, you might not meet their family or know these red flags till later on. Get them red flags out in the open ASAP. Pull them out if you have to. Ask the hard questions before you start liking the person, because when you start liking the person or after sex is involved and maybe it's really good and you just got the rose-colored blinds on, rose-colored glasses on, you're not even going to be looking, them red flags going to look really nice. They'll be like, oh, we had 6 flags. Those ain't red flags. It's great adventure time.
And, at the same time, I think the brilliance of these 9 red flags from Kevin, and rest of power once again, Kevin Samuels, brother Kevin Samuels, they are typically, they come together in bunches. These specific 9, they tend to overlap. You're not going to just have one, you're going to have multiple, which is why it's red flags plural, right? So if you may not get all 9, you might get between 3 to 6. So
all at once.
Right.
Run.
Or in stages, you never know.
Listen, people cray. You gotta ask questions. You gotta meet family members. Like, ask the hard questions early. I think that actually builds a stronger relationship. I feel like when we started courting, we asked a lot of questions in the beginning, like meaningful questions. It wasn't like superficial, like, oh, what's your favorite color? Like stuff you asked me in middle school. What's your favorite color? Oh, what do you like to listen to in the music? Like, it was.
Or in college, what's your major?
Yeah, like, what's your major? Would you like to, what's your favorite restaurant? Just silly, superficial stuff. Like, you asked me some real deep questions.
But that's Josh.
Yeah, of course. But that's me too, because I was asking you the questions.
Well, apparently, if it's glitter, it's you, and IG is real. Apparently, too.
It is though. That's one thing I try to make sure is my Instagram's authentic, because it's like I don't want people thinking I'm out here living a life I'm not. You feel me? Like, you're not gonna see me posting that I'm in Jamaica while I'm really sitting in New Jersey in my bedroom. Like, I'll never do that. I promise y'all.
Well, I mean, there's a difference, because in terms of, personal branding and whatnot, you can reminisce like a throwback Thursday or flashback Friday, and as long as you disclose it's a previous trip and you don't allude to that, it's I was just here, or I'm here now.
Drake made a whole song about it. Like, we don't do that.
Did he really?
Yeah, it was. I forgot. Don't quote me. I forgot the lyric, but it was like,
come on, Drake scholar, let's go.
I haven't listened to Drake in a while. I've been listening to my inspirational playlist. Well, he's on there, a couple of songs. I have this playlist. It's my manifestation playlist. It's pretty dope. I'll share that with y'all on Spotify. But yeah, I listen to that every morning to get my day started.
Okay.
But yeah, long story short is watch out for those red flags, gentlemen.
Oh, and we never talked about
what?
The biggest red flag, which is if you haven't liked, comment, or subscribed. That's a red flag. What are you guys doing? That's so toxic. Come on.
I thought you were going to say something way different.
Oh, you thought I was going to go deep, huh?
Nah, I thought you was going to be like, if they have a ring on their finger, it's a red flag.
Isn't that obvious?
Is it in 2022?
It depends what you're looking for, though, right?
Listen, red flag. Because you might end up, people crazy. You don't mess with nobody, husband or wife. People are crazy.
True. All right, little guys.
On that
Thanks for watching and listening. Make sure you follow the podcast, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you for rocking with us,
yes,
watching and listening, and we'll see you soon.
Peace out.